After just walking around Seoul the day before, I decided to use my first full day to do some palace hunting. The palace I decided to go to was this one. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name. The reason that I picked this palace is that it wasn't that far of a walk from my hotel, and it's been a UNESCO heritage site since 1997. UNESCO stated that the palace was an outstanding example of Far Eastern palace architecture and garden design. This is due to the buildings being integrated and harmonized with the natural setting. So, let's see how it goes. Construction on the palace, known as the Palace of Illustrious Virtue, began in 1405 and was completed in 1412. The palace consists of 143 acres of gardens and buildings surrounded by a wall to keep the peasants out.
It's good to be the king.
This palace is the second oldest palace in Seoul, next to this one, which I already been to. But unfortunately, like almost all palaces in Seoul, it was burnt down and destroyed during the Japanese invasion of Korea. Although it's been damaged, destroyed, rebuilt, and replaced throughout its history, this palace still remains one of the best preserved examples of Korean architecture. One of the main attractions of this palace is the Huan Secret Garden. The garden takes up a little more than half the palace grounds, and you need to purchase a second ticket in order to take a private tour, which I did. This gate is the main gate at the entrance of the palace. It was originally built in 1412, but was destroyed during the Japanese invasion, but was rebuilt again in 1607. This hall right here is the main hall of the palace. It was used by the king and officials for conferences and as a meeting point with visitors. I know you're looking at that large stone walkway thinking, wow, that must have been impossible to light on fire. This must have stood the test of time. Well, you're wrong. The hall was originally built in 1405, but like everything in Seoul, it was burnt down and then rebuilt in 1610. Unfortunately, it was rebuilt a third time in 1804 after being destroyed by a fire. Luckily for me, I got to the palace right as it opened, so it wasn't crowded at all, so I was able to walk around the palace almost completely uninterrupted and explore. This is the hall where the king worked at his convenience, which was located closely to his sleeping quarters. Another part of the palace that I found very interesting was this complex, which was built in 1847. The king, this guy, failed to have any children with his current wife, so naturally, he decided to pick up a concubine.
It's good to be the king.
Surprisingly, his wife, the queen, was not happy with this decision. She refused to let his concubine stay in the main quarters and forced him to build her living quarters in a very secluded corner of the palace grounds. Women, am I right, fellas? As I'm sure you can tell, the king was a very sensitive man. The complex was not just for concubine visits, but was also his library, and he would eventually build another house on the complex for his grandmother. In the end, the king only got to enjoy that complex for 2 years, because he died in 1849 at the age of 21. His wife, the queen, however, died in 1904 at the age of 72. After walking around thin alleyways and inside buildings and other rooms, I finally found a secret entrance to the secret garden. Walking with the rest of the group down the path, we finally made it to the secret garden. The garden takes up 78 acres of the 143-acre palace. It was used as a place of leisure by members of the royal family because, as stated earlier,
It's good to be the king.
the garden was constructed in the early 1400s. But can you guess what happened during the Japanese invasion of Korea? Yep, it was burned to the ground. Restoration of the garden began in 1623 and would continue to be added to from one king to the next until it finally reached its final form in the current garden it is today. This complex and hall was built in 1828, and current Korean architectural students still come and stay this summer to study these buildings. One of the unique architectural aspects of these buildings is the copper-plated roof, as well as the unique sun blinds that you can see on the left. This single rock stone gate's name translates to the Gate of Eternal Youth. Legend has it that if you pass under it, you'll be blessed with a long life and good health. So to double my chances, I passed under it twice. Walking around the garden grounds, our tour guide was telling us about all the Korean dramas that had been filmed here. Some of these include Bloody Heart, The Red Sleeve, The King's Affection, Kingdom, Rookie Historian, The Crowned Clown, Moonlight Drawn by Clouds, The Royal Gambler, Secret Door, Rooftop Prince, Jewel in the Palace, Jang Hee-bin, King and Queen, and 500 Years of the Joseon Dynasty. I wish I at least watched one of those, but unfortunately I didn't. I heard Kingdom's pretty good on Netflix, and it has zombies, so I'll probably check that one out. As we were finishing up the tour and exiting the secret garden, I thought about everything that I saw, and honestly, I don't think I made the most of it. I didn't watch any of the shows or movies that took place in the garden, and I didn't do much research before going out to this palace. I also heard to get the best views you need to go to the palace during autumn so you could see the change in season. But overall, if you're in Korea, I think you should definitely check it out. And after a 40-minute walk back to my hotel room, I was happy to get back and relax. DMZ tour? That might be interesting.